wanted to kick His Excellency. He was immoderately fond of women, and he of course comes on to Miss Cunegonde. Now, they couldn't say that they're married, because they're not yet. So he's saying, geez, how do I deal with this situation? Well, he could say, she's my sister, and please don't hit on my sister. But, he says, there was an ancient who did that, and, quote, it might possibly be useful to some of the moderns, yet the purity of his heart, Candide's heart, would not permit him to violate the truth, even though it was done by the Bible's spokesman, guess who? Abraham lies to the Egyptians, telling them that Sarah was his sister and not his wife. But Candide has too much purity in his heart to violate the truth. So what does he do? He says to the baron, the nobleman, Miss Cunegonde is to do me the favor and honor of marrying me, and we humbly beseech your excellency to perform the ceremony for us. More than just say she's to be my wife. She's to be my wife, and would you please marry us? Now, Don Fernando blah blah blah, twirling his mustachio and putting on a sarcastic smile, ordered Captain Candide to go and drill his company. The gentle Candide obeyed, and the governor was left with Miss Cunegonde. He made her a strong declaration of love, saying he would marry her in contempt and face of the church, or otherwise, as should appear most agreeable to the young lady of her prodigious beauty. Cunegonde asked to retire for a quarter of an hour to consult the old woman and determine how she should proceed. Now, the old woman, grizzled with age and wizened with experience, is going to say, what? Miss, you have 72 quarterings in your arms, it is true, but you do not have a penny. It is your own fault if you're not the wife of one of the greatest noblemen of South America. It's an exceedingly fine mustachio. If nothing else, look at his mustache. Come on, you gotta marry the guy. Are you going to insist on an absolute fidelity of him? After all, look at yourself, right? You have been ravaged by a Bulgarian soldier. A Jew and an inquisitor have both tasted your favors. People take advantage of misfortunes. I must confess, if I were in your place, I would without the least scruple give my hand to the governor and make the fortune of the brave Captain Candide, because then he would be in favor by the guy and stuff. While the old woman was thus haranguing with all the prudence that old age and experience furnish, a small ship entered the harbor bearing an alcalde and his alguazils. And here is what happened. Now, an alcalde and the alguazils are a municipal judge in Spanish and police officers in Spanish. So here come the Spanish to get Candide for what was done earlier. The old woman rightly guessed that the cordelier with the long sleeves was the person who had taken Miss Cunegonde's money and jewels, while they and Candide were at Badajoz on their flight from Lisbon. This same friar attempted to sell some of the diamonds to a jeweler who recognized them as being the Grand Inquisitors, and stopped him. And before he was hanged, the thug acknowledged that he had stolen them and described the person and the road that they had taken, on which the jewels had been taken. The flight of Cunegonde and Candide was already known. They were traced to Cadiz, and the vessel which had been hastily dispatched in pursuit of them now reached the port of Buenos Aires. A rumor spread that an alcalde was going to land, and that he was in pursuit of the murderers of my lord the Inquisitor. The sage old woman immediately saw what was going to be done. She says to Cunegonde, she says, "You cannot run away. You have nothing to fear. It was not you who killed my lord Inquisitor. Besides, as the governor's in love with you, he will not allow you to be ill-treated, so you don't sweat it, you're going to be fine. Stand your ground." Then she hurries away over to Candide and says, "Flee this instant, or you'll be burned alive." Candide found that there was no time to be lost, How could he part from Candide? And where must he go for shelter? And the next chapter there. Now he had brought with him from Cadiz such a footman as one often meets on the coast of Spain and in the colonies. What type is that? A quarter Spanish, the son of a half-breed, who was born in Tucumán, that means South America, so he's even part Indian. So one often finds such footmen around on the coast. His name was Cacumbo, and he had a great affection for his master, because his master was a very good man. He immediately saddled the two Andalusian horses. "Come, my good master," he said, "follow the old woman's advice. Hurry to leave this place without a backward glance." Candide burst into a flood of tears, right? How's he going to leave Cunegante behind? Where is he going to go? And the guy says, "Lord, she must do as well as she can. Women are never at a loss. God takes care of them. So let's get going." Now, just because she's not going to be burned at the stake doesn't mean she's that much better off. Look at what's happened to them all already so far. But so to say God takes care of them when, for example, the old woman had her buttocks taken off and eaten and stuff like this, whatever. You were going to fight against the Jesuits of Paraguay. Now let's go and fight for them. That's where we shall go. We'll take refuge with the Paraguayans. I know the road perfectly well. I'll take you to their kingdom. And they'll be delightful. They'll be delighted to find a captain that understands Bulgarian. They want the Bulgarian drill method they have in the army there. So you will certainly make a prodigious fortune. Let's go there and command in their army. If we cannot find our accounts in one world, we'll find it in another. It is a great pleasure to see new objects and perform new exploits. Be an adventure too. "Then you have been to Paraguay," said Candide. "Indeed I have," replied Cambo. "I was cook at the College of the Assumption, and I know the new government of Los Padres well as I know the streets of Cadiz." "Oh, it is an admirable government. That is the most certain. The kingdom is at present more than 300 leagues in diameter, divided into 30 provinces, and Los Padres, the province of the Jesuit fathers, owns everything. But it's all divided up. And the people have no money at all. This, you must allow, is the masterpiece of justice and reason, for no one to have any money. For my part, I see nothing so divine as Los Padres, who wage war in this part of the world against the troops of Spain and Portugal, and at the same time they hear the confessions of those very princes in Europe who kill Spaniards in America, and in Madrid they send them to heaven. This pleases me exceedingly. But let's get going. You're going to see the happiest and most fortunate of all mortals. How charmed will Los Padres be to hear that a captain who understands the Bulgarian drill is coming." As soon as they reached the first barrier, Cacambo called the advance guard and told them that a captain wanted to speak to my lord the general. Notice was given to the main guard, and immediately a Paraguayan officer ran to throw himself at the feet of a commandant to impart this news to him. Now that shows, I think, the willingness, how's that I phrased it here? So many are so happy to be so servile. A willingness to servility, a desire to servility, wanting, aspiring to be a servant. Candide and Cacambo were immediately disarmed, and their two Andalusian horses were seized. The two strangers were placed between two files of soldiers. The commandant was at the farther end, with a three-cornered cap on his head, his gown tucked up, a sword by his side, and a half-pike in his hand. He made a sign, and instantly 24 soldiers surrounded the newcomers. A sergeant told them that they must wait. The commander could not speak to them. Now this commander, of course, would be interested in the fact that they're not Spaniards. So he says, Cacambo says, "The captain, who as well as myself is dying of hunger, is no Spaniard, but a German. Can't we have some breakfast while waiting for his reverence?" Well, if you're Germans, maybe.